Hello everyone, and welcome to this stream. We're just seeing the final moves of Ethereal against Stowflace. I'm seeing yet another unsuccessful bet take shape. So yeah, I thought Ethereal might just make it actually because the opening was looked a little bit dodgy for Black. If you just have a little look, this was the opening, and it rapidly got to this, in actual fact, which looked as if Black might have problems here. But somehow Stowflace managed to just exchange off the queens, and after this, well, these are the types of endings that that these strong engines really do tend to hold. It's I mean, White's got more space, and Black sort of watch out a little bit with some weak pawns on b4 and a6 there. But I mean, really, yeah, I mean, it's not going to be enough. And yeah, Stowflace held it fairly comfortably, really. So that's pretty impressive. And knight f5 here. White's a pawn up, but obviously it's not really going to make anything. You're never going to be able to win the b4 pawn, and swapping off the a pawn for the b pawn is just going to lead to a completely drawn ending. Black gives up the bishop for the pawn, and then it's a draw. So so that's all gonna happen, and then afterwards we got an interesting one, Igel against Leela. And well, I mean, a few days ago we saw Igel really playing a very impressive game against Stockfish and coming desperately close to a victory. So who knows? Who knows? Maybe we'll see something similar. I hope at least that we're going to get a good, exciting game there. So let's just have a look at the standings whilst we're waiting for this game to finish. So we've got Stockfish out in the lead with 28.5 points. I think 2 wins as White in quick succession, that really made a difference there. It was lagging a bit behind Leela. Now there's another 13 games to go, so yeah, I mean, still anything could happen, but I think in general you do feel that Stockfish is either going to be edging ahead all the time or just be caught by Leela. I think if that feels more like it than the other way around. But Leela doing exceptionally well there. Komodo also doing well, just lagging a bit behind Stockfish and Leela still in terms of strength. But I mean, really, NNUE has given Komodo a huge boost, and it really is solidly the number 3 engine, as you can see. Then, yeah, Stowflace in 4th place there, just about staying ahead of Ali Stein. Yeah, at some stage I thought Stowflace might be able to do even more, but yeah, had a few losses against weaker engines, and as you can see, 9 losses as Black. That's quite a bit, and well, that one loss as White to Komodo really made a difference, because it could easily have been the other way around. Ali Stein sort of in a sort of a solid no man's land, and then in the relegation battles, yeah, I mean, you kind of feel that that Scorpio has done enough to keep itself safe. I mean, yeah, 2 points clear with well, 12 to play for Scorpio. You really would have thought that the Scorpio is going to manage that, but very creditable performance from Igel, and yeah, Ethereal just lagging behind a little bit. It's a bit of a shame, really. It's yeah, you sort of get a bad impression about Ethereal strength sometimes just looking at DivP, but you've got to realise how strong these engines all are, and Ethereal is just a touch weaker probably than the rest, and yeah, but it's still an extremely strong engine. A little bit surprised about the gap with Igel actually, because in League One they were very, very close, and somehow the gap seems to have got quite wide really in DivP. But yeah, I mean, it's that's kind of how it goes, really. It's of course we're not. These are long play games, but they're still, not so very many of them. So variations in score can happen. So let's have a look. We've got 2 ply now, only till the draw rule kicks in. Let's hope Ethereal doesn't get too enthusiastic and just stays under that 0.15. I mean, that's the key barrier there. So we just don't want anything with Ethereal, but it's looking like 0.03 now. So that's pretty good. Then it's going to be a draw on the next move. Actually, I've just realized that I can just make that a little bit clearer for you there. There we are. You maybe just quickly saw 1p, 1 ply. 10 ply at where both engines are under 0.15 or above minus 0.15. 10 ply of that, 5 chess moves. That leads. That's adjudicated a draw, and I think it's a good idea there. Nowadays, I mean, they used to have the adjudicated win rule as well, but people complained that yeah, sometimes the engines resigned and it wasn't really clear, and I do understand that really because well, I play quite a bit of shogi as well, but I'm a lot weaker at shogi than I am in chess, and if I look at professional games, sometimes I really do not understand why they resigned, or there's still an awful lot of complexity for me. And so yeah, especially with engines, their assessments are getting more and more decisive earlier and earlier. So you could really get some resignations in positions where you might even think it's still unclear as a human. So yeah, I mean this is pretty good. But yeah, we seem to be in a run of moderns now. So this is going to be quite interesting. Now, I'm a little bit surprised because these books are, are supposed to be very, very biased, really, very, very unbalanced. Really giving a lot of, well, a lot of encouragement to the white side. Let's put it that way. Sort of wondering. This doesn't look so bad for black. Doesn't even look so, so controversial, really, what black has done. So normally there's some sort of move in the opening that you'd sort of say as a human player, "Ooh, I wouldn't do this," but this looks still fairly natural. So I'm sort of wondering. I'll have a little look at the theory just to see what the key point is here. But it doesn't look so bad. I mean, if we're looking at I'm just going to go back to the to my Firefox. And we'll just have a little look there, just to see what the key variations are here. Igel saying C3. Leela giving 0.47, 0.48 for an assessment, early assessment. That's sort of yeah. I mean, it's sort of winnable in the it's in the range where you say Leela thinks that this one could just end up being a win, so okay, could be quite interesting. Now just I'm going to take you into my my betting activities here. So I don't know whether you've ever betted on Twitch or oh, actually I'm not logged in here. I'm going to have to do it on my other screen, of course. So which you're not going to see. Curses. Well, I don't know whether you've ever betted on Twitch, but what we're getting a result that we have to have. So at the moment, what are people betting on? People are betting 100% on a draw here, which is yeah, impressive, I would say. And with 50,000, Mr. BDZZ voted 50,000. He's always going for Leela positive results, and I'm always betting against him and normally losing. Well, I'm going to go for Igel actually, and I've got 19,600 channel points left. I think Mr. BZDZZ has got something like 1.5 million or something like that. But I'm going to vote with I'm going to vote for 2,500 on a decisive result. There we are. That's what we've done, and we're going to see how it goes. So yeah, always yes. No, everyone's always saying, "Oh, lovely GM bits. We're going to win lots of them." So yeah. Anyway, that's what I'm doing, and well, we'll see how that all goes. Okay. Ooh, GM bit, somebody is saying. So I'll just say, not this time. And then I've got to use one of those, try and use one of those Twitch. Ah, there we are. Not this time. There we are. Okay, let's have a little look at the position then. So I'm just going to have a little look at the opening theory. And we're just going to see how that looks. Every time I'm always doing this wrong. Just clicking on the wrong place. Yeah, everyone's saying that GM bits are worth more than normal troll bits. But I'm really running out. I'm not. I keep on betting against Leela and Stockfish, which of course would be really good wins. But I've been very close a couple of times. I think Scorpio came desperately close to beating Leela, and Igel came desperately close to beating Stockfish. But both times this bet did not work out. So Bishop D3, Knight D7. Oops, good lord. Matthew, click on the right place. There we are. Bishop D3, Knight D7. I mean, as far as I'm aware, this is a pretty normal thing to do. So let's have a look. I'm just looking at my database here. We've got, yeah, thousands of games in there. Now, a pretty normal move here is to play E4 to E5. Yeah, I've looked at this as a possible opening line for yeah, interesting possibilities. But I wasn't completely impressed with it. So A4 is the third most popular move in the position. So yeah, I mean not the main move by any means. B4 is completely normal. And then I'm guessing that Knight E2 is also the main move. Knight D5 could be quite interesting, but I think Knight E2 is indeed the main move. And then yeah, I mean, I guess this is maybe the one moment where you might say the opening theory's a little bit weird here. C7 to C5 is really the normal move. Don't commit the bishop, but strike back at the center straight away. And here, Bishop B7 is being played, and that might be the move that makes makes this unbalanced and makes Leela and Igel believe that White's got a clear advantage here. So, well, actually, my bits seem to be the only one so far on a win. And I put 2,500 on there, and there's 300,000 on a draw. So, of course, if it turns out well for me, then well, then I'm quids in, and then I can really try and bankrupt Mr. PZZ. But yeah, not sure that's going to happen. All right, I'm just going to just let me check again. How long have we got before the bet? 3 minutes 14. Do you know what? I am going to put a little bit more. I'm going to put an extra 1,000 on there. In we go. Whack. So at the moment I'd get so many bits you just cannot imagine. So okay. So what has Igel played? Igel played C3. Which is, a natural move. I mean, it defends the d4 pawn, and I mean, it really is very natural, for a natural idea in the opening. If you can't think of anything else, you could say that you attack, exposed points in the opponent's position, and well, this pawn on b5 is the most obvious exposed point, and you attack it first with a4, and then you attack it with c3. And, the nice point about it is that if b takes c3, you take back with a b pawn, and then the bishop on b7 is, well, open on the b file, and you can attack it with rook b1. I mean, that'll just be a little bit annoying. So what black has done is played c5. So keep defending the pawn and attacking the pawn on d4. And that's a very reasonable move. And you see, I mean, Leela's at 0.42. I've seen much worse openings really for Leela. So in general, you sort of think that a draw would be a pretty odds-on result here, really. Ah, coffee. I would need that after a hard day's work. So, okay. And you see that Igel's valuation is a little bit up and down, really, all the time. But even Igel's gone down a little bit. It was at about 1.6 before, now it's at 1. Now just having a quick check to see what the theory looks like. C3, C5. I mean, we seem to have transposed into another line, and there's quite a few games here. Of course, the thing is about with the lockdown and everything, there's quite a few games in everything, really. You know, the lockdown, lots and lots of bullet and blitz, and everyone's playing everything and any sort of rubbish. So it's all in the database, and it's a little bit confusing now to know, you know, did they mean this seriously or did they not? But if I'm looking at the statistics on my database, then I'm saying 16 wins for white, 9 wins for black, 4 draws. Not bad, and you know, the average rating of the white and black opponents was about the same. So yeah, you know, not too bad here. So what are we going to do here with black and white? Well, let's have a little look. Oh, good lord. I did a little refresh there by accident. I meant to do this one. Edit. Base PGN. C3, C5. Well, okay. I mean, black's got pressure against the d4 pawn, but there's not really, you know, very much happening at the moment. You're very solid, knight e2, f3, defending c3, d4. And in general, you know, well, black might well, you know, want to swap off pawns at some stage to get a bit of freedom. But I think for the moment, I can't see an advantage to him for doing it early. So I guess black is going to, you know, be trying to develop, and the key thing is whether he can develop his knight to f6. So I'd say that castles is the most natural here. And then, again, the move I'd want to play as black is knight f6. Simply develop the knight and attack the pawn on e4. So, you know, in a way, provoke white, you know, give white something to think about. I mean, just maybe worth a point, actually. I was talking for our book Chess for Life. Natasha and I interviewed John Spielman, the great English chess player, former world number 3 at one stage, and candidates finalist as well. You know, an extraordinarily creative player, and you know, and a very strong player as well. You know, that doesn't always go together, but he was a very strong practical player as well. And you know, we asked him, you know, a little bit about, you know, how do you think about positions? You know, I mean, how do you decide on a move? And you know, John said basically that you know, he's got some sort of idea about if I want to play this move in this position. If this move works, then it's a good position. If not, then I've got to start dodging and weaving and trying to mix things up a little bit. And you know, I sort of thought about it, and I thought, well, actually, that's not so different from the way that I think about stuff as well. That really was something that I always had, you know, a move that I really wanted to play, and I really wanted to make it work, especially when I was young and full of energy, and you know, I was willing to calculate huge amounts in order to make the move work that I wanted to play. And yeah, it was quite funny, you know. It's because in principle, you know, approaches to chess are not so similar with John, but somehow that, you know, that really struck a chord. It's not always about you know, doing it the Russian way and drawing up a candidate moves and a tree of analysis and everything. It's I mean, you know, I think you know, drawing up candidate moves is very important, but yeah, the rest not so much. So what are we going to do here? So after knight gf6, white's got several ideas here. I mean, in principle, d5 is quite tempting, because with d5 you're blocking out this this bishop on b7. The one thing you'd have to watch out though for is a move like c4, when bishop takes c4, knight takes c4 is in principle good for black. You've swapped a sort of a side pawn for a central pawn. Then this d5 pawn's also a little bit weaker. And stuff like cb allows queen b6 check. So that's kind of one thing. I mean, you could sort of say I'm going to go bishop b1 here, and protect the pawn and claim that I've now got the d4 square for my knight. And that's kind of true, but it does feel a bit. It just feels all wrong, really, putting a bishop on there. I'm not even sure whether you'd need to play maybe bishop c2 first, and after b3 go bishop b1, because after bishop b1 you might have something like knight c5 attacking e4 and also attacking b3. So d5 is positionally very sound, blocking in the light squared bishop on b7, but probably not quite right tactically. Now e5 is one big idea, and black will play something like knight d5, and then we've really got to look at moves like e6, for example. This is always possible. I mean, these are always look like very strong ideas, but quite typical in the modern. You can play this move knight f8. You might think that you could play knight c7 as well, defend the pawn, but well, you've got to watch out for ideas like knight h7, rook h7, bishop g6 check. So knight f8, you actually cover against this because you protect g6 and e6. And it's not clear at all, how white is breaking through. I mean, black's position looks a little bit odd, you can say, but yeah, modern players have survived worse than this before. But that's definitely an idea. The final idea would be just to go knight g3, protect e4. And you're just sort of waiting a little bit, and you're seeing, where is black going to go? It could well be that, if black goes castles, that you say, oh, well, now this idea might be stronger because I'll just have knight g5 here attacking the pawn on e6, and black hasn't got this move knight f8 to defend it. And after knight c7, well, knight h7 is even stronger, takes some queen h5 check. So, I mean, those are the three possibilities, of which, probably e5 is the very most crucial. Now, I don't know whether there's another line that black could play. I mean, if I'm just thinking of random alternatives, I mean, knight h6 is possible. You don't allow e5, but, this knight looks really very ropey on h6. The other thing you could do is to go e6, and then to go knight e7, but yeah, I don't know, to play bishop g7 and then c5 together with e6 leaves d6 very weak. I don't know. I mean, it does feel again something that's incredibly risky. I think this is the sort of move that you play. I think when you've analysed it very well and you're pretty sure that a few key variations are working for you. So probably if I was black, I'd just be trying to make knight f6 work. So let's have a look what has been done here. Indeed, knight f6 has been played from Leela, castles, and then knight f6. Now Igel is thinking, and actually, well, Igel's actually come up with another move that I wasn't thinking. Just checking my microphone's on. Yeah, microphone's on there. So another move that I didn't consider at all. I'm really trying to understand what on earth is it doing. Wow, what an idea! So let's have a look at that. So what Igel is looking for is this move knight g5, which is amazing. Good lord. Yeah, I really had not thought of that at all. Very unusual idea. Now, what I'm imagining is that after h6, I guess that Igel's idea... well, what could it be, actually? I mean, I've got several ideas, right? I mean, the thing that I was sort of assuming was maybe something like this and e5, which can be quite dangerous. The king's been forced to move. The g6 pawn is weak, and if we go something like knight d5, then yeah, f5 looks like it might actually have some venom in there. That could be very dangerous, in actual fact. Yeah, I was vaguely wondering about going knight e6, doing it this way, and e5, because then I'm threatening bishop takes g6. But I mean, I think you can just let white take on f6 there, and you're looking fairly solid. You know, I mean, maybe king f7. He takes f6 in this way, and if queen c2, then I could, you know, I could block with f5, for example. That looks quite solid. The other thing you could consider is to go here. I'm not sure about that one. I mean, you've got to take this knight on g5. I'm going to take on f6, am I? So the problem with these sort of p-sack things, you're even wondering about this, you know, and if knight g4, then e6. I mean, this would be a nice mate, wouldn't it, really? That would be nice and friendly, but it doesn't have to. It doesn't have to happen, of course. Maybe even d takes e5. That looks a little bit too much, but h takes g5 takes here. And then, yeah, what is black going to do? I mean, e takes f6 is possible, fg. Yeah, and then I could I maybe just get away with fg? It's possible, but it's a little bit scary, you know. You know, I go knight g3 or something, and if you ever go castles, then I don't know, knight f5, knight h5 ideas. You know, feeling dangerous all the time. Quite apart from sensible moves, you know, like maybe, I don't know, queen g4 or something. I don't know, something like that. So, yeah, I'm not sure, but knight g5 is a gorgeous little idea there. So, has Igel done it? Because that will be quite stunning. Ah, it's gone knight g3. The boring move. It's gone knight g3. Should we have a quick look to see what our engines would have made of it? What would Stockfish have made of this? That's interests me quite a lot, actually. Knight g5. Well, Stockfish is all for e5. My goodness me. That seems appalling, e5. It is more or less the last move that I would want to play, really. Well, I mean, the point is, you know, this knight's attacking this square on f7, so you know, you're obviously a little bit worried about you know, the pressure along this diagonal. I just lock the engine on that. So playing e5, you know, just really opening up the diagonal, also maybe giving you the chance to take like this and get the rook's open file there. Wow. That does not look tempting to me, but well, in all fairness, Stockfish is also not particularly excited about it, it must be said. How about Leela? What does Leela think about that position? We'll have a little look. I don't want this position, actually. I want this position. And we'll lock Leela there. I mean, that's, yeah, looking at c takes d4 and h6. It's very always, oh, now it's looking, now Leela's looking at e5 and not thinking that it's anything particularly interesting. Amazing, isn't it? It's, it is really, honestly, you know, those sort of moves that you would not, I would simply not consider at all. And I mean, it gets even better, really, because, you know, Leela's line here is e5 takes, she feels weird taking with the d pawn. C takes b4, and then not even bothering to take the pawn back, but just castles and a sacrifice. And yeah, 0.13. That's not bad at all. So incredible, you know. I mean, you can't. I mean, just in general, I mean, you can't believe everything, right? Oh, good lord, I'm sorry, I've messed up again there. I've switched away. I mean, you can't believe everything that even that Leela and Stockfish tell you. I mean, sometimes you do have to nuance it and you know, find something that's maybe 0.03 worse, but way safer and you know, and maybe even better as well. But this is quite incredible. If we're looking at Leela's line, the Leela main line here is e5. Bishop c4, d5, bishop a2, e takes d4, e5, and you know, we're going all in here, really. You know, h6, a piece sacrifice, amazingly enough. E takes f6, knight takes f6, knight f3, a5, and Leela says the position is equal. I can tell you, if I was white in this position, I would be already Well, I mean, already seeing myself as winning is maybe a bit strong, but I would definitely assume that I've got a clear advantage here. But yeah, Leela saying 0.23, which is well within the bounds of equal to small disadvantage. It's yeah, it's incredible. I mean, simply incredible. The ideas that they come up with nowadays, the engines, and also the material imbalances. Must be said that Leela's particularly strong at those. Yeah, interesting variations there from the engines. What has happened here is that Leela's taken on c3. So after knight g3, have a look. B takes c3, and now castles. And here Igel's got to think up of a plan. Let's have a look. Go back to the PGN. In the correct window. Knight g3, which, yeah, that was a pretty solid way of doing it. B takes c3, B takes c3. Yeah, it's kind of, black's got to sort of decide when you want to do this, but in principle, black is more cramped, so a few open files is more what, is kind of what black wants. And the other big idea about it is that after, make first variation, there we are. After, oh good lord, that didn't work. We want to make this the promote. There we are. The point about taking on c3 is that if you go e5, I go knight d5, and I'm attacking this pawn on c3. So that just, costs white a tempo whilst launching the attack. I mean, if you go, I don't know, f5, I mean, this feels, vaguely dangerous, but black is really nibbling away at the white centre very, very quickly here. So that's the big point of all that. So what could we actually do here with white? Well, of course, e5 is one idea. Just chase away the defensive knight from f6 and, go for it big time. Maybe, you would say some sort of protection of c3 first would be useful. We can try, if we're not going to go for e5, then a plan with f5 is quite natural. So we just put the pawn, we just gain a bit more kingside space without yet giving this knight extra squares. But of course, you are actually putting some pressure on this pawn. So and that's kind of lining up with this bishop here. So if you now if you follow up at some stage with e4 to e5 and then e5 to e6, get rid of this pawn, then this bishop is helping to attack the g6 pawn together with the f5 pawn. So that's quite decent. And of course, let me try and clear all those arrows. Of course, what you've also got is you've got extra development squares for your dark square bishops. So f4, g5, those sort of things. I mean, the knight's not super happy on g3. I mean, in principle, it would be much happier on f4 in this position because then it's aiming at e6 and g6. But okay, it's doing a decent job. It's protecting e4. So yeah, sometimes with these things, you just have to put pieces where they can go, and then you'll work it out later. As long as they're reasonably central and doing something vaguely useful, then then you never know. Maybe white will get an f takes g6 and then a knight f5 sack at some stage. So let's have a look. What has Igel done? Igel has played f5. A big valuation there, 1.74, but yeah, it's a very optimistic hedgehog. So we don't need to get too excited. Just give me 1 second. I just want to have a quick look to see what the final chat story was. Let's have a look. Wow, my goodness me! There's 660,000 bet on this one. Wait a minute. Just give me 1 second. I've got to. I've just got to have another little look. See whether I can find it. Oh, I'm sorry. I'll have to do that. So 3,500. That I'm the biggest. I'm the biggest better on a decisive result. There's 8,600, but there's a massive 654,000 channel points bet on a draw. So it's 99% to 1, and Veer and 6 put 250,000 channel points on, which is the maximum. So well, you know, if this one comes out, then I'm just going to retire. I'm afraid you're not going to see me on streaming again. I'm just going to live off my channel points for the rest of my life. So F5 was played by Igel, and Queen C7, a very natural move. What does this move do? It well, first of all, you know, connects the rooks. The Queen is covering E5, so E4, E5 is a little bit more difficult, and the Queen's also X-ray eyeing this C3 pawn. So, you know, might cause some irritation later. Interesting thing is, you know, what does Leela actually have? What can Leela actually actively do? And that's not so clear. I mean, in terms of breaks in the centre, you know, D5 is always natural. But what am I doing here? I should really stop doing that, shouldn't I? I've got to start pointing here. Yeah, D6 to D5 is quite a key idea. But I mean, really, only if you can go E5, knight to E4, that might be interesting. But Queen E2 is a very sensible move here, just defending the E4 square. The other move that Black really can consider is to go E6. But again, you've got to watch out for, you know, for ideas like E5 all the time, and E6 is also pretty loosening. You know, I mean, you are really loosening those light squares, and it's not 100% clear what you're doing afterwards. You know, it's just you're loosening your position, you're making it a bit weaker, and what is the follow-up? Yeah, so now what Leela's looking at is to go play rook to E8 and maybe go E6. And that would maybe be, you know, that after f takes E6, you could maybe take back with a rook and attack the E4 pawn. That's possible, but yeah, not really sure there. Let's have a look at the PVs. What's Igel's PV here? Igel's PV is quite interesting. Expecting C4. Yeah, sorry, we're looking at this little mini board up here, just in case you didn't see that. Rook E8, Bishop A3, Bishop H6, Rook B1. I mean, this is really a very pleasant position for White. Yeah, I mean, after this move C4, hard, you know, this Bishop on A3 cuts across the black position. There's no pressure on the centre. I mean, this would be a very unpleasant position, really, for Black. And yeah, Igel expecting quite a few contortions there. But I think, you know, what Leela is doing here with Rook E8, that feels, you know, much more sensible there. So okay, let's have a look at this board. I'll just go back to it, and we'll see what happened. Queen C7, Queen E2, and now Rook AE8. Yeah, okay, so what would White want to do in this position? Well, you know, always the move that you want to play is E5. But actually this is never really going to work. I mean, we've always got this move, Bishop takes F3 in between, Queen takes F3, and then D takes C5. I mean, you sometimes do play this E5 move as a pawn sacrifice. I mean, it's not silly at all. And I think, just pops into my mind actually, if you have a look at what Igel and also Leela are looking at for their PV, you're going to see this move, Knight G5. Now, why on earth would you want to go Knight G5 and then you're expecting h6, knight f3. You know, why h6, knight f3? Why would you do that? Well, the idea, I think, is quite simple. Just imagine this position, but with the black pawn on h6. You sacrificed a pawn, and you're attacking this pawn on g6. It's not defended by the f7 and h7 pawn. This pawn's on h6, and you're going to take on g6. So that would actually mean that black's got to maybe weaken the king side further with g5, and then you can attack it with h4. I mean, this could be a very dangerous attack, this one. So, you know, I think that is the, you know, the kind of the idea behind this Leela move, knight g5. You know, you are sort of going to just waste time if black goes here. But then all of a sudden, you've got, you know, ideas like e6 to e5, or even simply takes and then knight to here, attacking g6. And remember, this bishop attacking this diagonal is also very dangerous. So I suppose what you're saying there is, you know, well, okay, you know, I've got, I'm looking quite good, so I can waste a couple of moves to weaken you. What can you do with that time? And maybe it's, you know, black doesn't have that much that it can do with that time. So very interesting idea, and it looks like Igel is expecting it now. But what Igel is looking at is a very sharp line in actual fact. So let's have a look. And I've just realised that I was moving again, and I'd forgotten to switch back. So let's have a little look at this. Let's put Leela onto this one. Let's put Stockfish onto this one actually, and see what Stockfish thinks about it. Well, look at that! Look at that! It absolutely loves it. Plus 1.52. That is serious. That is serious. So it really feels that this weakness on g6 is extremely serious. That now that makes me kind of wonder actually. What would Stockfish think then about the position after knight g5? Well, you see what's happening here. Stockfish is actually looking for a tactical solution, and I mentioned that Igel was looking at a tactical solution here. What Stockfish is looking at is, I'll just lock the engine on that, and that's takes, and then knight h5. So this looks a bit odd, but you're opening up the line of the bishop on this pawn. So if you go knight takes h5, then bishop takes d4 check, king h1, and bishop takes a1. Now, to be honest, this still looks vaguely dangerous. I'm sure that if it was a blitz or a bullet game, I'd be playing this move in a flash. But Stockfish is not expecting that. Stockfish is expecting white to just cover the d4 pawn with bishop e3. And then to go knight takes g3, h takes g3. And then afterwards, maybe play this move h6 here. Which, to be honest, is also extraordinarily risky. I mean, just in general, it's quite interesting that you know, it's how action and reaction really. I mean, you know, in principle, black doesn't really want to take this pawn on d4 too early, unless there's a really concrete thing that the queen on c7 can do. Otherwise, the queen's just going to end up getting hit by a rook on c1. But because you play this aggressive move, then you know, black feels compelled really to play c takes d4 and knight h5. You know, find a tactical solution to exchange off some pieces, and then afterwards, yeah, you know, you've managed to do that, but you've got the downside of a rook on c1. But now it looks, yeah, it looks like Stockfish is resigning itself actually to a pretty poor position. It's actually looking at playing, yeah, the move h6, which is Leela's move, but it's not looking too happy about it. Let's have a quick look. What sort of engine information do we have? Oh, good lord. I'm getting 1079 kilonodes per second. That's not really wonderful from Stockfish, I have to say. I'm normally much more than that. All right. We've got 168,000 nodes. That's not really very impressive, I have to say. Okay, well, there we are. That's how it is. It's oh, table base. I've got to connect the table base. Haven't actually got it in this program. But okay, that's quite interesting. Let's just pause Stockfish here, and then let's just see what Leela, our Leela thinks about it, and then we're just gonna we'll let that run for a little while. It's looking at Stockfish's line here, same 0.44, which is not too bad. Now let's have a look what Leela, which is about well, at very least 10 to 15 times faster than my hardware. That's a very conservative guess. Then what it is trying to do. Let's have a look. So, Leela has done this interesting idea. So, I mean, Leela's actually just trying to block the center here. It's this is, well, panic measures. I'm not sure that's what you call it, but this is really trying to put the brakes on. You know, essentially, you're worried that your king side is now too weak, so you want to start blocking the center. You block the center, get a pawn on e5, then this bishop on d3 can no longer white can no longer really get this diagonal opened like that. So that's essentially what Leela is going for there. Yeah, now white's got to try and think of something. I mean, it's quite a good idea in general, this sort of thing. You know, white plays a move and expecting to get some open files, maybe sacrifice something, and then you just try and close it up. And well, just make white think again. The one thing you do have to point out is that the a6 pawn is hanging, so that might also be a little irritation for black in a few lines. So Leela is actually looking here at taking on g6, and then trying to keep the position sort of a little bit open, and also expose the black king. Actually, I like that plan. I do like that plan. Igel's looking for just d5 at the moment, sort of blocking up the position a little bit, and yeah. I don't know. I mean, its PV looks quite nice. I mean, if I'm looking at this sort of ending that it's looking at, this has the potential to be quite unpleasant for black. This the bishop on b7 is a really poor piece. Obviously, you're always slightly worried, swapping off pieces like that. But okay, yeah, not silly at all. And actually, Leela's boomed. d5 has been played. Leela was expecting f takes g6, a more fluid approach, but after this move, Leela's boomed and actually thinks that it's in a little bit of trouble there. Interesting. Ha ha! I'm just having a look at the chat to see whether there's any panic amongst the big bettors there. Not yet. They're all grizzled TCEC watchers. They don't get afraid just with small booms. But a boom, by the way, is when the evaluation increases substantially, and the opposite is a moob, which is boom spelled backwards, of course. So TCC chat's very nice. It's got some nice little things of its own, that you sort of recognise and enjoy. Okay, so what is black going to do here? Well, let's have a little look at our analysis board. So yeah, actually, my Leela is sort of catching up a bit. I mean, it's funny enough that after e5, Leela starts off wanting d5, as you can see, and then switches to f takes g6. Oh, and then d5. Actually, that would probably even transpose. So, well, my Leela's much more together with Igel, but maybe that's actually the point. Maybe my Leela is closer in strength to Igel than to Leela at the TCC. But okay, so Igel's gone d5, and yeah, I mean, in principle, this is a pleasant position for white. I mean, this pawn is weak, of course. You've potentially got a beautiful square on c4 for a white knight. Where it attacks d6, threatens to come into a5. and this bishop is really lacking scope. You know, it's just biting against. Oops, good lord, sorry, biting against granite here. So so what Leela's looking at, and I think this is quite a natural move, is to play c4 here, and that's just a pawn sacrifice. I mean, if you don't take it, of course, then well, black gets an extra square for its knight. This is, you know, kind of very typical in these sort of Ruy-Lopez positions. This is which this is sort of transposed into. And well, after bishop takes c4, I mean, black gets some pressure along the c file, can put a rook to c8, but also, you know, more importantly, you get the you can get the knight to c5 here, and the knight's active there. It aims for b3, it aims for d3, and also for e4 as well. I mean, the one thing that I was you know, vaguely wondering about was if I go d5, you know, would a move like this be possible? Takes and then e4, then try for something unpleasant with a pin. It is not as stupid as you might think, actually. Because what's the idea? Well, the idea is that if you go knight takes e4, I just simply take here, and after takes, I go gf, and it looks a bit risky to take like that, but you're just winning your piece back, so it'll just have to do, I think. But I think that's actually, you know, that actually looks quite fine for black, I think. Well, oh, no, I think it all works tactically. I was wondering about knight e4 and queen h5. I mean, if you get a knight onto f5, that's really nasty. But I could go knight f6 in this position and then just win a piece like that. So that wouldn't be so great. And a move like queen f2, well, I don't know, maybe even something like bishop c3, knight f5, all getting very murky and messy. I don't know, but I'd imagine that would be all right for black. Yeah, the question is whether I could actually, though, just interpose this move, because, you know, if you go, I don't know, a move like bishop e6, just move the bishop away, then, you know, I can take on here, and then I've got this gorgeous square on f5 for a white knight, you know, coming in from, oh, it's all going to go horribly wrong. Yeah, there we are. Sorry, I meant f3 to h4 and h4 to f5. Ah, sometimes. Oh, look at that. All gone horribly wrong. Other way around. And if you go fg, of course, then I can just go e takes d5, and you don't have this g takes f5. So probably I will find some way to remain a piece up there. So yeah, so that's not possible at all. So c4 quite natural, I think. Bishop takes c4. Yeah, and then you've got to decide. Yeah, I think let's have a look at what Leela is thinking of here, because none of it looks very good. I have to say, it's more about just trying to minimise the damage here. So rook c8 has been played. So just thinking about taking that pawn on c3. Bishop a6 isn't possible because queen b6 check. That's lovely. So Igel just looking for, if we look at its PV, going bishop d3 here, knight c5, and then going a5. And actually, really trying to stimulate black to take off this pawn, and then just play for the ending against this rather bad bishop and this very weak pawn, which is, you know, frankly, a very solid approach there. So not pleasant for Leela. I wouldn't like to defend this ending, I have to say. I mean, is there anything else apart from bishop d3? Well, after bishop d3, could you take this pawn on c3? Well, rook c8, bishop d3. Queen c3, yeah, I'm not quite sure what the answer to that would be. I mean, even simply a move like bishop d2, and well, the queen has to think carefully where it goes, because queen b2 would lose, well, both both the piece and also the queen as well. And yeah, I mean, if you go, I don't know, Queen C7 or something like that, maybe I just go, I don't know, A5. It's going to be quite similar to the lines in the game, only maybe if you go Knight C5 takes D3, you've just wasted more time, really. So yeah, you know, I think Knight C5 is kind of natural here, but then A5 from Igel. I like that very much. You know, just keep this one under wraps. You know, that's the important thing, and just head for an ending with a very nice static advantage. Could be really, yeah, could be really interesting. This. So let's have a little look at. We'll just pause Leela. Let's have a look what Stockfish thinks about this one. Yeah, Stockfish is not very happy at all here. So yeah, and you can understand it. Oh, Stockfish looking at this move, Bishop takes D5, which looking at it now, indeed. So this idea that I pointed out before, it's looking at it here. I was wondering about this actually, just to play Bishop takes D5 here. Now the point about it is, I guess, is that if you try something like F takes G6, then I can go Knight takes D3 here, because Queen takes D3 would allow Bishop C4. So you probably don't have time to take on G6. You have to take on here, and then Black's going E4. And now this is the interesting point. Yeah. Now this is something this gets very difficult for humans to calculate. And the reason it gets difficult is that I think the feeling of responsibility is so high. If you get it wrong, then you're probably just lost with a wrecked position. So always get quite nervous about these. But Stockfish is saying takes on E4, takes, Knight takes. We go, and then if we go, sorry, the other knight. Knight F takes E4. Knight takes E4 and Rook E8. We can go Knight FD2 and now GF Rook F5. So yeah, White's a piece up. White's managed to stop this F5 idea, but I mean this is really really quite fraught. You know, you've got Bishop takes C3 ideas, Queen E7 ideas. Yeah, I mean, you know, Stockfish is pointing out here, and then F5. So if Rook F5, then there's Knight takes C4. Yeah, I mean, this is really super complex what Stockfish is looking at, and you know, multiple pieces hanging all over the place. Well, let me just show you the line. But again, this is a line that you might be able to think about it in a practical game. I mean, never underestimate what strong players are capable of doing. But to really judge that these are the only moves and best moves, and that there's nothing else happening along the way, you know, that's not easy. And the key point of it is Queen D5, Queen H5, and F takes E4 is impossible due to Queen takes D5. It must be said in all fairness that, you know, this resulting ending here, and now was it Bishop B4? Mwah, I don't know. Obviously, you know, better for White. Black's king is quite weak, but winning, I'm not sure. Yeah, you know, I wouldn't be surprised to see Stockfish holding this as Black, for example. But I think it's you know, it's fair to say that yeah, that Leela's under a fair amount of pressure here. Really is. Let me just find the right variation here. Bishop takes C4. There we are. So yeah, I mean, this is really yeah, this is big pressure against Leela. So let's just start engine, pause Stockfish here, and then we're just going to go back to the games. Quite exciting. Igel's really doing a nice job this super final. I mean, you've really got to say, so close against Stockfish. Played some very nice games and was looking very solid. I mean, has suffered a few heavy defeats as well as Black, but you know, with these openings, it's kind of you've got to calculate that in really. Let's just have a look at the time situation, because Igel's always I think actually why do I keep on moving my window here? Sort of looks okay, doesn't it? Still, I think. Oh yeah, A5 has been played, and now Leela's thinking here. So Igel, big difference there. Leela at 0.4. Now, of course, Leela's evaluation is always a bit more depressed compared to other engines, or well, what you can say, the conversion of its normal output, which is win percentage, draw percentage, loss percentage. Yeah, I mean, it gets converted, and maybe the conversion is a little bit depressed. I think in the good old days, I think the conversion formula was much more optimistic, but then people were laughing at Leela all the time for optimistic evaluation. So, yeah, you can never really win. But yeah, 0.4 is not so bad, and 1.74 is surely heading to nearly winning there. So, but Leela, what is Leela doing? Leela's going for the dark squares. Leela's going for some sort of dark squared blockade here. So it's going to get rid of the dark squared bishop, and then afterwards it's going to try and get something on c5. It's going to sort of claim that I can hold hold c5. I've got a firm grip on that, and then that means that you're not going to be able to get in c4, c5. So you'll be a pawn up, but this pawn will be useless. You won't be able to break through. And we've seen Leela doing this, most notably against Ethereal in a recent game in DivP, and Ethereal was evaluating loads of extra material. It was +1 or +2 or something like that, and Leela was just very happy with an equal evaluation, just knowing that this sort of thing was going to be a draw. So this is quite an interesting plan from Leela. I mean, in some ways, it's sort of more tempting to take the light square bishop because of the attack on a6. But from a positional blockading point of view, then you can definitely understand this move. And I guess that Leela will play moves like h5 and bishop h6 and try and get his bishop active that way. Interesting, very interesting, this one. So let's have a little look at our variations there. So we're saying, have I locked my my engine there? No, I haven't. So a5 and now knight b3. Intriguing. We'll get to Stockfish. Stockfish does not like that. But it's all very. This is always. Now Stockfish is a bit more enthusiastic. Yeah, always a little bit unclear there. Stockfish isn't always the best one to know when it can break through or not. I mean, essentially, we're going to put the rook somewhere, and where that somewhere is, I'm not quite sure. Let's assume a2, I suppose. I mean, I don't want to put it on a3. Put it that way. That's one thing I do know, because then there's this little check. So I was saying maybe a2 or a4. I don't know, a2. Just have a quick look, because I think I heard a move there. Knight b3. Rook a2 it played, and then knight takes c1. Insta move. So that's good. We can just look at those moves, and we know it straight away. So I mean, what is White going to aim to do here? Actually, with the dark squared bishop's gone, it's kind of a different dynamic to the game, really. Black could play, try and play very solidly at blockading here. So noticeable, isn't it, that I'm seeing Stockfish here, obviously, not at super high depth here, but looking at taking the pawn back on c3 as Black, whereas Leela's just no, I don't want the pawn, I want the blockade. Well, I mean, I think the thing that most interests me in a way is the attack on the pawn on a6, because that's actually quite annoying for Black to defend there. If you have to play rook a8, then well, I mean, that can't be too bad, right? I mean, that's going to be quite decent. So that's kind of the pardon me. That's kind of the interesting one. Now, I think the big problem though would be, for example, just assume I played a nondescript move for King H7. I think if you took off like that at the moment, then we'll go Queen C5 and we'll go Knight G4 or something like this. Yeah, I mean, I can probably find a better move to prepare that, but this is a sort of thing that could be, quite tricky for white in some circumstances. So that's definitely one thing you've got to watch out. So, I mean, I sort of guess that a move like H3 would be handy, just to cover this G4 square. I think the only thing then that you slightly worry about is that black's going to play, for example, black plays H5, and after H3, bishop H6, and then this bishop can come into F4 and attack the knight on G3, and somehow white's pieces don't seem to be particularly stable on their posts. So that's quite interesting. I mean, yeah, maybe H5 is possible. I was thinking maybe after H5 we could sort of take and go Knight G5 or something, but well, I don't know. I mean, there's some there could be some worries here, with Queen C5 check and then Knight G4. That's this pawn H5 coming in useful there. So I don't know. I mean, that's quite dangerous there, I think. Let's unlock Stockfish, by the way, and give him this position, and we're going to see what he does. So I'm not sure that this move Bishop A6 is dangerous. I mean, Stockfish is looking at playing Rook A8 here, but then following it up with just with the plan of bringing a knight round D7 to C5, and then transferring this bishop to D7. So the idea really is that you want to bring this bishop. Absolutely, you want to bring it to this diagonal. You really want to bring it to this diagonal, to be pointing that way. But first of all, it wants to play the knight D7 to C5, bring the knight round to here. It well placed outpost, also defends the A6 pawn, and then bring this bishop round here, and then round to here, and then and then play on from there afterwards. And that's a very good and very typical plan. I mean, I think you'd some sort of plan like this would be I think the first thing a human player would come up with, just if asked to regroup his pieces. And possibly the other one is H5, that you'd really be very interested in, just to activate this dark squared bishop here, and also the fact that you're attacking the rook on C1 is a bonus. So this is going to be an interesting and pretty tough game for Igel to get past, I think. It's going to be a pretty tough fight now. So, but Leela's playing it very actively here. So Leela's not playing Rook A8, not playing passively. It's playing Rook B8 here. Yeah, I mean, the idea really is that Bishop A6 is probably too risky already, due to these checks and Knight G4. So I don't need to play passively like that. And so Igel has played King H1, which I think is absolutely essential, just to get the king out of the way. And now the question is, what are we going to do here? When will white be able to take on A6, if ever? Yeah, it's not clear really. I mean, I don't see an immediate refutation there. But for example, if I played H5 here and you go Bishop A6, I mean, I guess I would simply go takes, and Bishop H6, and well, you can't move off the second rank, so you've got to go somewhere like here, and then I'm probably not. I don't want to take the C3 pawn, probably, unless there's a good tactical reason, because D6 hangs. But I could go a move like Rook B3 or something. And you're very active. I mean, you really are incredibly active here as black. So yeah, I think this might just have been really a very nice move from sequence from. Oh, I'm terribly sorry. I've switched too often there, but yeah, yeah. I think this could be a very good defensive idea from Leela again. I really think that Leela's defending extremely well. Really finding a lot of positional ways of holding stuff. I think you'd say. Seeing that it can flatten out the white initiative, go into an ending, a pawn down. That sort of thing. It's really very impressive. And I think for the super final, this could make it a really good one because I get the feeling somehow that Stockfish and Leela are defending in quite different ways. I think that Stockfish is kind of defending a bit more aggressively in a way, I think, than Leela. And Leela's going for the more positional routes to neutralization. So that could be a gorgeous clash. Could really be nice. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of talk of... well, it's true, of course. Leela... Stockfish has been trained on Leela games. So, and of course, they did... for Leela, they did... evaluation correction, I think, by using Stockfish to evaluate positions that Leela had got wrong. Hope I'm saying that right. So I mean, there's no problem with that. But obviously, just as a watcher and also as somebody responsible for coming up with a super final book where you want as many exciting games as possible. You're always nervous when engines have the might be having the tendency to converge because you might end up with the same game twice, if they're too similar. But I have the feeling that that's not really happening. That they've maybe I don't know, maybe last season or whatever it was getting a bit closer. But I get the feeling that they've gone back to different personalities again. So it's looking like the super final is going to be Leela and Stockfish, and that should be a really fascinating one. Pardon me. So F2, let's have a look what's happening here. Wow. Rook A1. Not the move I was expecting to see. So what is Igel doing there, in actual fact? That is a good question. Why would you put the rook on A1? Let's have a look. Yeah, not sure about this one. What's Igel's PV? So it's expecting. It's funny. It often happens with Igel that the last move, the last variation that it gives, is not actually the move that it played, but it might transpose in actual fact. So rook F1, queen takes C3, and then rook B1. So it's just looking to give away the pawn, then bishop A8, and then it's going rook A1, and bishop B7. Okay, yeah, just a little repetition, and then queen F1. I mean, essentially what Igel is saying is that with that pawn gone, then that actually helps white because its rooks can get active. Yeah, don't know, not sure. Feels really odd, just feels really odd what Igel is doing here. It's yeah, I mean, sometimes these are the things that difficult to understand about engine games, especially when something like this where you're a pawn up and then actually white's just going to play a move like rook ca1 and then rook b1, just almost seems like just wasting time on purpose, just forcing black to capture back an extra pawn. It's really hard, really hard to understand that. Well, actually, Igel's evaluation, as you can see, dropping significantly. So I'm not quite sure what it's missed there, but now it's seeing something again. I'm not sure. This doesn't feel like the right way to do it somehow. But obviously, I'm not very clear on what is the right way. It could well be that this was just a very nice defense from Leela. Creating compensation on a completely different set of squares and giving white a difficult problem there. Yeah. So what is Igel looking for here? Just going to try and understand a little bit. So Queen F1 is what Igel's looking for. Bishop C8, Rook C2, Queen B4, Rook C4, Queen B7, Rook C6. So very nice. And then Queen A7, saying, and then Bishop takes A6, winning the pawn. Bishop D7, and then you're doing the standard I don't care, and going takes, and then Queen G1 just to swap off the queens there. Takes, and obviously Black's not going to take on C6 because D takes C6 will allow C7 to C8. So okay, and then well, I mean, this does actually look quite promising. You do have to say. Okay, but this is a big difference somehow. So Igel's saying I'm going to take on G6 first. Here, I'm going to take on G6 first, and then afterwards off for the exchange of queens. And Leela is currently expecting this not to happen, and then it'll play G takes F5 here. Toc toc. Rook takes D6, Rook D8. But I do have to say that in principle, if I was if I was playing white, I would be more inclined to look at Igel's F takes G6 rather than allow G takes F5, which starts making the position look messy. Whereas F takes G6 and then Queen G1 afterwards, it has the feeling that it's making the position a lot cleaner. Might be some more counterplay because Igel's move is opening the F file, but still. Oh, okay. Then Igel has switched. It got nervous about some counterplay along the F file. It looks like. So well, let's have a little. I'll just grab the PGN on that, and then let's have a little look at that line. So PGN. I'd love to just copy paste, but let's paste PGN, import. There we are. So what is Leela looking at? What are Leela and Igel looking at? So here, Queen B here, there. So this is all played there. Bishop takes A6, Queen A7, and then the big question was whether to go F takes G6. And in principle, if I go F G6 and Queen G1, this feels a lot more stable here. If you look at what Leela's main line was, that you go Queen G1, Queen takes G1, and G takes F5, then it all looks a lot more unstable, doesn't it? I mean, there's this tension on this pawn. You might just lose your whole centre. Maybe E5 to E4 is going to happen. So it's a little bit of a weird one, but I think that what we will see is that maybe, and here you see Stockfish having all sorts of ideas, maybe you don't need to take back on G6, but you could play a move like Knight G4. So we're threatening Knight F2 check, which is quite unpleasant, and you've got to be really careful here with White, because I mean, how do you defend against this threat? I mean, Rook C2, clever. Knight E3 is rather annoying. Oh no, there's Queen G1. Sorry, I'm missing the Queen's pinned on there. But Rook C2 looks odd. I mean, F takes G6. I mean, in actual fact, you've managed to get the white rook to retreat back to C2 for free, so that can never be bad. Rook A2, nobody in their right mind would consider this, because you're leaving the B1 square unprotected, so you're just petrified that something's going to happen on the back rank. And then the main line that they were looking at was H3, Knight F2 check, and then FG here. And well, what's the difference here between? You could have the same position with the knight on F6, really, couldn't you? Only here you've got the knight on F2, so there's not going to be any queen exchanges with Queen G1, and well, we've actually got some dangerous stuff, right? I mean, we've got threats like Bishop takes H3 here, and then the F3 knight will hang. So yeah, I mean, this has just got rather messy in actual fact. So that's why Igel's now looking at going Queen G1 and well, accepting this messiness and sort of hoping that that's much easier to control. I mean, what you must say is that I've got this move Rook takes D6 in this position, and yeah, it's still not easy for Black to break free because this Bishop on D7 is hanging, so this Knight can't move. So yeah, not so clear that yeah, just not so clear that how easy Black's going to find it to get free. And remember, once this Bishop moves away and this pawn runs, this is a pretty serious pawn. So yeah, in general, I'm still liking Igel's chances here. Yeah, I mean, this move Rook A1, Rook FA1, very mysterious, but possibly very, very strong. This move Rook FA1 and Queen F1. It's I suppose always with these things. Here we are. It's all happening. Always with these things, you're slightly well, you're wondering a little bit. Yeah, the engines seem to consider that a line is forced, and you're sort of looking at it, you're thinking, I don't really understand why the line is forced, and that is true. But this was a nice regrouping, and of course, to give up this C3 pawn for the A6 pawn is in principle it's a huge win for White. That this A7 pawn is way nicer. So a little move order thing from Leela. 0.25. I mean, Leela not too pessimistic, but oh, somebody in the chat has said, "Go whoever's playing England." So my goodness me, it's obviously I'm recording this tonight on the night of the England-Denmark game, which is happening at this very moment. Which just shows my dedication to you all, because that I would rather commentate on Igel against Leela than England against Denmark. I mean, in all fairness, I mean, I like football, but I tend to just go and watch for the goals. My dad's watching it all the time, so from time to time he shouts "goal," and then I run and have a look. And it was a bit. What was it? This Spain-Switzerland game was incredible, of course, because and also. France against Ukraine? No, not France against Ukraine. France against somebody. Who was it? This was an incredible game as well. Czech Republic. That's right, isn't it? You just kept on getting called back and saying goal. So, oh no, Denmark's winning. Somebody says. Excuse me for just one moment. Just gonna have a little look at that. England, Denmark. Oh no, free kick makes it 1-0. Yeah. Well, good. Maybe it's a good job I'm watching Igel. To be honest, I was rather nervous about Denmark. I think Denmark's really a team where they, obviously they had this terrible thing with where their player got collapsed, and then they had to play the game and lost it afterwards. I mean, I don't know how that must have been a really very difficult experience for all of them. But they've come back super strong. But they're really playing like they're playing a team. You sort of say just a good 2600 level Grandmaster. But then playing it, with huge enthusiasm and lots of courage, that sort of player can beat anyone on their day. And these are all one-off matches, so I was very worried about England, to be honest. But 1-0 down. So we're going to see how that goes. But I'm just watching the free kick. Wow, that was a hell of a free kick. My goodness me. This guy looks like Cristiano Ronaldo, and he hit it like that. Incredible. Well, incredible scenes. So, Peter Heine Nielsen, Magnus Carlsen second, said that yesterday that he was going to change the habit of a lifetime and support Spain. So I suggested that he could today that he could also support England and change the habit of a lifetime. He's Danish, of course, but no, that wasn't happening. He was. Even Magnus put out a message that he's supporting Denmark. So they're all sticking together. But but anyway, it's yeah. Well, we'll see how that goes. But that was a fantastic free kick. Denmark scored some great goals this tournament. No one here wants it to come home, says one of the chatters. So he must be English at least. Let's have a look. So Queen G1, Queen takes G1, King takes G1. So Igel, yeah, you can see this evaluation darting all over the place with Igel. It's always very hard to know. Leela's very smooth and stable. And if you look at Leela's evaluation here, then just here, you can really see a downward trend. General tend to believe Leela unless it's playing stockfish in tactical positions. And then you never know what's going to happen. But yeah, this is looking quite. It's going to get sharp now. So King G1 from Igel. Oh yeah, that's what I wanted to do actually. I want to have a look at Igel's time here. Well, actually, this might be a bit tricky. Look at this: 10 minutes, and Leela's taken 30. Has got 36 left. I mean, in principle, you know, Igel's time management is not bad. You know, spending more time, I suppose, to get into decent positions. Whereas you might say that Leela might spend a bit more time. You know, it's playing a little bit fast. Would actually be intrigued to see Igel playing at super final time control. Might actually suit it even more. It's like Komodo as well. Komodo seems to play better and better the longer the time control. And maybe this one, 60 plus 7 is, relatively fast. So yeah, I mean, it might be that Igel is like that. That plays, would probably play even better at longer time controls. But okay, well, we're going to see how this goes. So we're expecting Rook takes D6 now. And then Black's got to think of something. So I'll just grab the PGN and let's move to our analysis board. Sorry, I just saw a quick move there. So G takes F5 played. And we will see, edit, paste PGN, import, whack. So I think Rook takes D6 is bound to be played. And then let's have a look at Stockfish. What does Stockfish think? Stockfish has got a bit more pessimistic, looks like. So interesting, but let's have a little look there. So what has Black got here? Well, the one thing Black doesn't have is Knight takes C4 because Rook takes D7. So bearing that in mind, you realise that, yeah, I mean, a move like F4 looks very tempting, Knight E2, and I'm taking on here, but I'm not because the bishop on D7 is hanging. So that's one important thing. So yeah, I mean, I need to do something with this bishop, and either I'm going to do something with the centre here, and then try and move the bishop away, or Rook F. I mean, I don't want to go something like Bishop E8 because, well, as always, when you say that, you're not sure anymore. But in principle, something like Knight F5 looks wrong to give the knight a good square on F5. So, I mean, Rook D8 looks vaguely possible. Ah, well, I suppose that the nice thing about a move like Rook D8. Well, I mean, first of all, of course, you're threatening much more threatening a move like F5 to F4. And then Knight takes C4 because the bishop on D7 is protected. And you might even have ideas like, maybe not immediately, but maybe after a preliminary Knight G4, bishop F8 hitting the Rook. So that probably does look quite sensible. I mean, moves like Knight E5 are possible, but well, would you ever dare do this with this diagonal open? I don't think so. So just clear those lines. So how could White play in this position? That is a very good question. I mean, yeah, what I would really want to do as White is somehow to get my bishop back into play, and then afterwards just push that A pawn. But the more I look at it, the more I do think that I do need to watch out for my rook there with a future bishop f8. Got to find a good reply to that, really. I'm not. Yeah, I mean, what I was thinking about was a move like bishop d3, for example. I'm not quite sure because you've got moves like rook b3, for example, just to annoy it. But I was thinking maybe f takes e4. Maybe I could go bishop takes e4 in this position. Got to watch out as well after knight e4. I've just realised that we've also got this possibility of knight e8 from black, which you might think, oh, is that really that bad? But after rook b6, we can try stuff like f5 and then e4 afterwards. There's a few tricks in this line. I mean, I was wondering about playing bishop e4 and then knight e4. I want to go knight e4. The idea being that if you try and attack my rook, then I just go rook d7 and knight f6 check. But yeah, how solid is all this for white? I mean, even here, knight e8, rook a6 and f5. You're going to have to convince me that I'm not somehow losing something. For example, takes, and then e4. I could just be losing a piece back there. Which I might not be losing because I've got enough pawns, but it's not at all what I'm looking for as white. So it's actually quite a difficult choice somehow. Looks just a bit passive, this rook fd8, but actually it doesn't look bad at all. I mean, if I could sack this exchange and then get something on f5 and be stable, but I don't think I can. I mean, rook here. I mean, knight d7, I go knight f5. I mean, that's, well, actually even that. I mean, I've got knight c5 and I'm forking e4 and I'm forking a6. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm not. I'm certainly not thinking. Ooh, I've got a clear way of doing this somehow. So let's have a look. Igel played. Okay. So this is quite interesting. What Igel did was, yeah, another move I was thinking out of. Knight d2. I was a little bit nervous about it because it's on a dark square, and there's this bishop and all of that on dark squares. So I'm never 100% sure that I want to put my pieces on dark squares in this position. But okay, I mean, you're just trying to shore up e4, which would be a good idea in principle. And you're not putting a whole logjam of pieces so that f5 and e4. Well, getting the knight away from f3 means that f5 and then e4 later. It's not attacking a knight on f3, so that does look like a very solid move. So f4 took place, and then knight f1, and knight f1's a good move. You're getting this sort of linked knight. So this knight is defending this knight is defending this one, and this knight's defending this pawn. So, well, it's maybe not the most active thing you could have, but at least it's solid. And of course, you are a pawn up, so you might have some chances there. So what is Leela going to do? I mean, that is the next thing. Oh, sorry, I was playing on the other board there. Leela has played knight e8 here. Let me switch over to the other board. Knight e8. Sorry, just have a quick look there. They keep on playing that free kick over and over again for Denmark, but it was pretty good, I have to say. Oh, England score! Ha 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 ha! Well, there we are. You're even getting football updates as we go. Was this a... no, that was... well, that's strange. It seems to be a free kick against England in this thing here. So maybe we're seeing all the goals there. Maybe we are. So, oh yeah, I think this was the free kick. Amazing free kick there. Fantastic. And then we're going to have an England goal. Are we going to have an England goal? Not really, I don't think. It's they're not showing me the England goal, but okay. Let's. Oh, it was an own goal. Fantastic. That's what. That's what we want. That's our best scorer, the own goal. Brilliant. Okay, so going back to Igel here. So knight e8 was played. Rook b6 and then bishop f8, threatening bishop c5 and king h1. I mean, again, you've really got to say that Leela's decision back on move 20 here, just to go for a dark square strategy, swap off the dark square bishop and then try and survive on the dark squares. Yeah, I mean, it's hasn't been completely obvious how that was happening, but then you look at this again and you see, this bishop coming out to c5, this knight's got a beautiful outpost on d6. Yeah, you can really see that Leela understands chess, but it's a superb defense. Again, you wouldn't say that this would be beyond any human somehow, but yeah, it's just somehow it's just very, just very good, very very strong positional play, just world class level. What can you say? It's so yeah, I mean, Leela's really just claiming now that that this a pawn is nothing. I think that's the other impressive thing about Leela, is that it was also the same against Ethereal. Was it against Ethereal? I was thinking, or Scorpio, I think. That Leela went for an ending with where White had passed A and B pawns. It was opposite colour bishop ending. And I was thinking, well, I'm not really sure, is that really a draw? But yeah, Leela just said, yeah, easy draw, no problems at all. So, yeah, also with this, this whole thing with the defence, pass pawns, the judgment is just really spot on. And, obviously, I could think of this sort of dark square strategy, but I'd be completely worried that this past A6 pawn was gonna be, tie me up completely. And yeah, Leela doesn't think so. And yeah, well, probably odds on that it's going to be right. But this also means that I'm probably going to lose my bet again, and I'm going to reduce myself to 16,000 channel points. I'm not going to have anything to bet on the super final in the end if this carries on. But yeah, Leela and Stockfish are too solid, and I've been betting against them all the time. So, oh dear me, and everyone's going to say, GM channel points, so tasty. That's what they always say. So, king h1. So yeah, bishop c5 is going to happen. Let's have a look at what we think could happen here. So, knight e8, rook b6, bishop f8, king h1, and bishop c5. So, pretty much going to have to swap off the rooks. Yeah, what does White want to do here? Well, White's got a few things. I think, just in general, I'm not claiming these are the best moves or anything, but if we go a6, then Black's going to defend it with bishop a7, and in actual fact, looking at this, Black's really got very nice coverage of all the entry points. The bishop is covering c6 and c8. And the knight is covering c7. It doesn't have to move to d6 immediately. It can just stay on e8 for a little while, just defending the c7 square. And that means then that that this black rook is free to annoy White's pieces a little bit. I think you also shouldn't underestimate that the black also has this f5 break against the centre. So you could imagine an idea like playing the rook to b4. Like that. It's a bit hard somehow to do this. Rook to b4 and then play f5, and then the e4 pawns could roll. I mean, one thing that seems tempting for White a little bit is to play a knight to c4 to attack e5. That also seems tempting. I mean, you might be able to move your chain knights out. So move one knight to c4. And then move the other knight round to d2. That could be an idea. And, never know, maybe the knight can come a5 to c6. But it's a little bit, it's not easy. It's kind of a little bit fraught. And you're not really sure that that this is really going to, how much you're going to be able to achieve with that, because your pieces feel a little bit constricted. But okay, no, it's a definite plan here. So let's... I think I heard some exchanges. Wow, lots has happened there. So is Leela insta-moving all the time? Rook b6, bishop f8, king h1, bishop c5, takes, bishop d3, moving back, and now just king f8 here. So rook c1 played. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'd probably think of going bishop a7 straight away. That would be my my natural idea. Bishop d4 from Leela. Yeah, why not actually? Bishop d4. You know, it defends the pawn on e5 already. That's that can't be bad. And then we're going to have to think about what white can do. And yeah, I mean, the thing is that well, what Leela is expecting, just looking at the PV, is expecting that the rooks have to be exchanged. So h3 from white, f6, knight c4, king e7. Oh, it's disappeared from the Leela PV, but it was looking at white playing rook b1. I think if the rooks get exchanged, then I don't really know. Well, Igel's looking at doing this now. I don't think that you're going to have enough here. I don't see how you're forced through this a pawn, and well, black with the two bishops and this f5 lever. I don't think that black is going to be worse in this position at all. But I don't really know how white could do much better than that. I mean, you notice as well, this is one of the things that we looked at in Game Changer an awful lot. But you know, this bishop d4 is really keeping the king pinned down to h1. So black's king is a lot more active than white's, and well, in an endgame, you know, that can be very important. You know, so yeah, I mean, this looks pretty good. Oh, Leela actually looking to avoid the exchange of rooks. I'm a little surprised by that. I would have thought that it would be fine, but maybe actually looking at it, look at this. Leela's looking for a very aggressive plan here. You'd almost say that Leela's playing for the win there. So f5 and knight f6 and knight g4. Well, this could be interesting. I mean, I don't want Igel to lose, but well, of course, for my bet and my channel points, I've just bet on the decisive result. So if Leela was to turn this around and make a black win, then that would be incredible as well. But well, not sure that's going to happen. But rook 8's a very interesting move there. You know, it's yeah. The reason it makes you a little bit nervous, rook a8, is that well, black gets this, white gets this b7 square to invade. I mean, white plays knight c4 to stop the knight coming to d6, and then you're going to have a rook b7 later. So that does make you just a little bit nervous. I mean, it's a higher risk approach. I mean, there is no doubt of that at all. Also, you know, when white goes knight c4, then knight b6 is also a possibility, forking rook a8 and bishop d7. So actually, in principle, I'm a bit nervous about rook a8. But okay, if Leela's calculating this line with an f5 break, then could be interesting. That's probably not a bad moment actually to actually ask Stockfish what it thinks, because we always like knowing a little bit what Stockfish thinks about position. So go for it, Stockfish. Play. Oh, is it still moving? It was still looking at It was looking at f4. So yeah, okay. So it's looking at rook takes b1 here. Absolutely. Started off with rook a8. No particular reason, it seems, why I didn't like it, and then it's moved to rook b1. You don't always see the exact variation why you know, that might make a difference. Ah, it's gone to rook b1. God. Didn't like it, and now it's moved back to rook a8. So yeah, following Leela's lead there. Leela thinking now, thinking a long time. So 3 minutes here. 106 kilonodes per second. I get. Well, what do I get on my system here? I don't think Skid is the fastest, to be honest. I think I get more with other programs. But if I try and do that here, 4 kilonodes per second, I normally get a lot more than than 4 kilonodes per second, I have to say. It does depend on the position really, but there are 10, 11, no 4 I'm getting. I normally get about 10 or 11. It's an RTX 3080, so you know it's reasonable. It's reasonable. It's a laptop RTX 3080, not a desktop one. But still, I normally get more than that. But anyway, you're seeing 5 here, and you're seeing 106. You know, same position on the TCEC hardware. So I mean, you can really tell how powerful Leela is, and I think that Leela scales extremely well. I think that's it does seem to get stronger. The more hardware you throw at it, which is not always the case with hardware. I'm an IT guy, and the number of problems that haven't been solved by throwing hardware at it is quite impressive. I will just switch. Sorry, I switched over and then switched back. So this is Leela for 5 kilonodes per second now. Not impressive. I get more on with other programs, but possibly I just haven't configured it very well here. So actually, looking at the hash settings, that doesn't look very good. Maybe I need to change something there. But it wants rook a8, so this must really be the the real basic Leela move, because even my much weaker hardware wants to play this. Stockfish, let's have a look at that. Stockfish wants rook a8 there, and yeah, it wants exactly the same idea here. I mean, from that point of view, they're agreed that rook a8, and then if knight c4, then we're going for f5. So, well, we're going to have a little look at those variations. Just try and catch up. See, knight b3, you see. This is also the line that Stockfish was recommending. So, rook a8, and then not the natural knight c4, but this move knight b3, hitting the bishop on d4. But I do have to say, well, okay. I mean, actually, looking at this plan, it's not so silly, because you play one knight to b3, and then the other knight is going to come to c4. So that's also possible there. So yeah, it might be a nice position of the knights. It's just that a knight on b3, protecting a pawn in front of the rook, it feels a bit wrong. Just you have to do that, and you sort of think, I'm not sure I'm really getting an optimal position of the pieces there. Let's have a little look what Stockfish is thinking about it. So oh good lord, Stockfish, this is just one of those shimmies from Stockfish. It wants bishop a7, then knight here, bishop d4, and then it wants to go knight c4. Stockfish. Interesting, but actually maybe not too surprising, because as I said, this knight didn't feel like it had much potential there, and yeah, I don't know. But I don't know. On the other hand, would you maybe go rook c8 or knight d6, or maybe you'd still go f5? Just it doesn't feel like this is anything particular for white really at the moment. It really does feel like white's getting back in control there. Okay, so but knight b3, knight fd2. So he's really going for this plan. And Leela went knight d6, which is very decent, just to keep the knight out of c4, and just try and leave white. If you go knight c4, you'll just take, and you're leaving white with this slightly passive knight on b3. And now white played this very interesting move, g3. So I'm back on my analysis board here. Yeah, this is pretty decent. I mean, in principle, black was looking at going f5 and trying to get this pawn mass rolling. So g3, just to try and restrain that, is quite a nice idea, I think. Now, what are we going to do? I mean, I don't think that we really want to allow white to take on f4. That would give double pawns, and also the possibility of going e5. So I think if you're talking about what would you do in blitz, I would take on g3 probably, and play something. I mean, I think natural blitz moves would be here, and rook c8 probably. but I'm not sure whether that's good at all. I mean, just in general, I mean, what are we going to aim for with black? I mean, I think we're going to go f5 at some stage. The only question, I suppose, is when. You know, I could imagine going rook c8, threatening rook c3, so you go rook c1. I get your knight onto a bad position and then play f5 or something. I could imagine that because, you know, okay, you're causing, you know, this is a weakness, but, you know, this pawn on d5 is weak, this pawn on g3 is hanging. So, you know, the white pawns are quite weak, and it's not like you're going to force anything past this bishop on a7 anytime soon. So that would be pretty much my my expectation. The only thing you might say that maybe we'll play you know, a move like king e7 first. That could be possible as well. You might even get ideas with h4 and rook h8, or even rook g8 as well. But you know, black's not worse here. I mean, it's all Leela's managed to equalise this very nicely. So I think, well, I think something like that happened, didn't it? So g3. Oh, Leela just went f5 straight away. No hanging around. Wow. So g takes f4, knight takes e4, knight takes e4, f takes e4, bishop takes e4, and then it's just going to play e takes f4. Yeah, again, why not? Pawns are getting exchanged, yeah, two bishops quite powerful. King's going to come into d6. I mean, you really do feel that the black should have plenty of counterplay, but would not be easy to draw against an engine ever. But now, a very nice move from Leela, I think. It's looking at just playing rook b8. Now it wants to exchange off the rooks. Now that all the pawns are split, because that makes them then easy prey for the king. That's really nice. That's really instructive. That sort of thing. So. Well, you know, I suppose I don't mind. You know, I don't mind losing my my channel points really if you're seeing such nice play, such instructive play. Really nice defense from Leela from this move. You know, the sacrifice on the 18th move with c4, and then this move knight b3 takes knight c1, which none of the other engines actually wanted to play. And then just this, yeah, this whole defensive plan here with knight e8, bishop f8, all on the dark squares. And then, yeah, this is just very nice, this really. I think rook a8 was a nice move, you know, tying the knight down there, and then f5 is a very nice equalizer. Yeah, you know, against this sort of, you know, just super sound positional defense. Yeah, you know, you're never, yeah, hard to imagine that you're ever really gonna beat this sort of playing strength, really. So knight d2, rook b8, king g2. So I think Leela is going to exchange off the rooks next, I think, and then bring the king in. And this is going to be very equal. We're actually back in the drawing zone now, actually. So, and to be honest, I don't think that there's necessarily many pawns or pieces going to be exchanged very soon. We need to be 10 ply at this evaluation level. It's 0.15, 0.06, without any pawn moves or captures. Nah, pawn moves, I'm not sure. It might be one or two, but anyway, you have got an outside chance that that you could stay like at this level and get a draw adjudication with 10 moves, or 10 ply 5 moves, which would be fair enough, to be honest. So this is you see the counter's coming here, 9 ply left, so 9 moves left. Certainly in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Whoa! Yeah, we're just in time with Leela's PV. And how about with Igel's PV here? Is Igel? Igel was expecting pawns to be moved. Oh no! Wait a minute. We're seeing a6 now in Leela's PV. So I think there's going to be a few more pawn moves that'll reset this draw counter. But we will get it quite soon. Yeah, the TCC command is, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the draw zone. Pray for no captures or pawn moves. That's always gets called up when this happens. So yeah, I mean, this king, the white king, the black king can come king d6 to c5. Could have done that already, I would have thought. Wouldn't have been bad. But presumably this is hyper accurate in some way. Yeah, a6. So this is going to reset the counter. Okay, but king coming into d6 is not going to make any difference. I mean, both engines think this is a draw, so the draw will happen quite soon. Both engines unaware, by the way, of the draw rule, so it's not like they can plan for it or anything like that. So yeah, I mean, black's just moving the king over to the a6 pawn, basically. I mean, that's the basic story. Notice also that this bishop is the wrong color square for this rook's pawn, so you know, you could even come up with all sorts of incredible sacks just to get that material balance. So yeah, you know, this is just very clearly drawn. Well, whilst waiting for that to happen, Igel doesn't have much time, so Leela does have a lot of time, so tends to spend time on stuff that's not particularly difficult. Whilst that's happening, I'm going to have a look at what's happening in the England game. And that's, yeah, somebody's just tweeted England-Denmark leading 2-0 because the other goal was an own goal. But the game finally poised at 1-1. So yeah, who knows what's going to happen. It's yeah, I mean, you always hope that your country's going to make it, but yeah, it's not the be all and end all, of course. It's much more important what's happening with Igel against Leela. So let's catch up with that. Some moves have been played. So, well, Leela went to f6. Okay, I was expecting Leela to come around to d6. Well, now Igel is at 0.37, so destroying the draw evaluation there. So, not quite sure what. Well, Leela's actually playing it slightly aggressively here. Oh, Igel then a bit more depressed. Igel's always a bit all over the place with its evaluation. I wonder how that happens. I mean, with Stockfish, you know, sometimes the evaluations get very edgy, but that's when it's some sort of rating threshold, evaluation threshold, and switching between NNUE and the old style classical engine evaluation. But not quite sure about Igel here. 2.11, my goodness me. 2.5. Wow. That is an evaluation. Yeah, that's a hell of an evaluation. I don't think we really believe that. I mean, I was watching a game not so long ago between Ethereal and someone else, and I'm not sure who it is. Was it Ali Stein? And Ethereal just went bananas in an opposite colour bishop ending and started giving table-based wins and all of that. Maybe due to time shortage or some bug or whatever, but it was very, very peculiar. You know, completely drawn opposite colour bishop ending with no hope whatsoever. You know, and you'd expect you know, a complete novice to draw this without any difficulty against the Grandmaster. You know, and then you're getting this incredibly 3500 rated engine claiming that it's a win. You know, really strange. But yeah, you know, I mean, bugs exist in software, of course. So it's yeah, this is not going to be a win remotely, I'm afraid. I mean, yeah, Leela didn't need to do what it's done with the pawn on h3, but obviously feels that it's improved its position. So yeah, just wondering why would Igel think that this is? Have a look at the PVs. What do the PVs look like? What's Igel looking at? Leela's just looking at to draw. Igel is 0.77. Oops, sorry. I'm going a bit bananas there, trying to. It's a bit hard because when the when Igel's thinking, oh, Igel's dropping again, so it's lost all its hope again. That's good. That's what we like to see. So yeah, I mean, white's gonna take the h3 pawn. Black's gonna take the a6 pawn, I guess. Yeah, it's just hard for white to capture the h3 pawn without. If you look at Leela's PV there, it's just looking at. Okay, so this is what Igel's going to try and do. It's going to try and go all the way around here and grab this pawn. That's cunning, but I think that black will move its king back to to block the white king, and then it's just going to be a draw. So so there's going to be a few more pawn captures, unfortunately, or one more at least. But then pawn moves as well. The rook's pawn is going to move forward. So this could be quite a long time. Not in terms of the evaluation, but just in terms of the pawn moves and the draw rule there. Yeah, people talking about the saying Ethereal would be plus 200 here. So yeah, that was really strange there. I mean, in principle, does it really matter? Sometimes these evaluations go bananas. Maybe not in the position itself, but of course, if you're misevaluating endings, from the middle game, then you might, go into an opposite colour bishop ending and think that it's winning, and it's just absolutely not. And so getting these is quite important. I mean, Stockfish doesn't assess these well at the moment, really overestimating its chances in opposite colour bishop endings. I mean, I think Leela is by far the best at assessing these. It's really really doing this very well. So yeah, I mean, what is Leela going to do? Leela's going to try and bring his king across the king side just to block the white king a little bit. I mean, white shouldn't be able to do too much. Although, I mean, I don't really like what Leela's done. I mean, if I was playing this in a blitz game with black, I'd be getting a little bit more nervous than I was before. Which is just not the idea, really, is it? I mean, it's but okay. I mean, it should be no problem at all. The big problem, of course, is that this is bishop and wrong coloured pawn. Actually, that's the key point, isn't it? It's catching up again. It's bishop and wrong coloured rook's pawn. So even if white's capturing this pawn, then black can just give up this this bishop for the c pawn. And you've got king, pawn, bishop, and it's just a draw. Let me just. Oops, I'm terribly sorry. I'm clicking at the wrong place. If I just do this, PGN F4. It's quite nice. We're going to do have a whole game this time, and sort of determined to do that really. So import PGN King F5. So just put that on pause. Not interesting anymore. So yeah, I mean, after King F5, we go, I suppose, King C5, King G4, King D6, King H3, King E7. There we go, King F6, whatever. And you can just simply, you can just simply wait. And this position is just drawn because bishop and the wrong coloured rook's pawn just draws. So there's nothing you can do at all. So that is pretty clear there. Now, what are we in terms of the draw rule? 7 ply, but I don't know. Maybe the engines, are they going to play around and not grab a pawn? It's possible. or are we going to get a draw here? It's so let's have a little look at what the what's coming up next. Look at the schedule there. So it's going to be Leela 0, 28.5 with 1 game extra played. Igel going to 17, point and a half behind Scorpio. Just going to have to be a miracle, really. You know, Igel beating Scorpio as black, that would have to be really the way to do it. And there haven't been too many black wins in this tournament. In fact, precisely just one, and that's really the Stowflace self-destructing against Komodo, rather unfortunately. If we're looking at the schedule afterwards, then what have we got? We've got Stockfish against Komodo. That'll be nice and exciting. I'll probably end the stream after this one because yeah, I've got to do some work now. Yeah, you know, Stockfish against Komodo, that's going to be great. Komodo, so Stockfish Komodo depends on the opening really. I don't know whether they've already played in this round. No. So this is the first of the double rounds. We don't actually know what the opening will be. So that's going to be that's definitely going to be an interesting one. Then Komodo Dragon Ali Stein, yeah, and then Leela 0 Stockfish. I mean, that's going to be a crucial one. If yeah, if Leela's lucky with the opening, you know, that would be yeah, kind of its enormous chance to pull back a bit on Stockfish. Stowflace, Igel, Scorpio, Ethereal. I mean, obviously the wins that you can make against Ethereal are crucial for Scorpio and Igel, because that's also a big difference. And then actually, I think, you know, Igel Scorpio, that's a very big game in the relegation fight. I mean, if Igel can beat Scorpio as white, then yeah, then you'd be hoping that it would be able to do something with black, you know, something extraordinary, and you know, you might be able to get back. Who knows? It's but it's a long shot. It's a very long shot. And then who can say, you know, who's going to win? Who's going to win here? I don't know really. Stockfish or Leela. Probably you always feel Stockfish is you know, slightly stronger at crunching other engines, you know, but Leela's got a lot better at that, you know. So I mean, look at the, you know, equal number of wins here and just one more loss. So you know, it's going to be a tight one, whatever happens. Let's have a look what's happened in the meantime. Yeah, the problem here is that I think Leela is thinking. I think yes, 6 minutes 13 on a very obvious position. That's look at that speed though, 297.4. I think that's more than the theoretical maximum. I think it's all to do with caching of variations and that sort of stuff. Huge tree there for Leela, 118 million nodes. So and 5.5 million table base hits. Well, compare it to Stockfish's tree and table base hits, and also speed. It's nothing much, but for Leela, this is these are very big, very big values here. What I do like about Leela's PV is that there's no pawn moves or captures, so that would actually lead to a draw. But Igel's looking to capture the pawn, so yeah, that's unfortunate, you could say. So it's going to last a little bit longer there. So well, let me just have a quick shufti at how England is getting on. Good Lord. There's a comment here. On this form, Casper Schmeichel could have saved my parents' marriage. So presumably the Danish goalkeeper having an absolute blinder. My goodness. Incredible. So let's have a look. This is a bit more sedate now, but it's been a great game. I mean, I think it's been a really instructive game. Really enjoyed looking at it. I hope you've enjoyed it too. It's you know, sometimes you know, it's all the wins at the TCEC that get all all the publicity. But the draws, are really often very, very good. Because it's then it's not just a clearly better opening that leads to a win. It's also incredible defence on both sides. And I'm going to try and do some analysis of some Div P games. And in particular, two really stood out for me. And funnily enough, both draws. There was Igel against Stockfish, which was really fantastic. And it was one of those, just one of those openings where Stockfish felt that it had to go all in because its position was so bad out of the opening. Wasn't obvious, but yeah, probably true. And that made it a fantastic fight. And another fantastic one was Stockfish against Stoveflace, where Stoveflace gave up a piece or reached a Benko ending with 2 pawns and white having 2 bishops, an extra piece, and it turned out to be drawn. That was an incredible game as well. So 2 draws, wonderful. And there's also some very good wins as well. It's quite interesting seeing these, these unusual, less good openings because, it gives you a real. Sometimes it just gives you an understanding of wow, that's why it's so good. It doesn't look so bad for the opponent, but the engines turn it into a +2 position. And that's very instructive as well. But I think if you're looking at the level, the engines have just got so good. It's really. Really amazing. Last season was strong, but this season is way stronger again. And you don't know how it can be. How can they play even stronger than they were? It seemed superhuman before, but this is just incredible. So okay, so it's 0-0-0, 8 plies. Now we've got to see whether Igel is going to make any pawn moves. Leela thinks it might, but Igel tending to think not. So if it doesn't make any pawn moves, then we could simply get a draw agreement in a few moves. So let me I'll just put the screen up a little bit higher, and then you can see it. Way there we are, 8 ply. That's the 8p. That's the value that you're looking at. Leela's going to torture us with a nice profound think about the meaning of life and what it is to be an engine, and. But hopefully then this will all end quite soon. So yeah, just thinking about the super final, maybe it looks like it's going to be Leela against Stockfish, which is fantastic, of course. I've got a special interest. Because I actually know what the openings are. In a way, I don't know. In some ways, normally, it's finding out what the opening is and thinking, is that going to favour Leela or Stockfish? Then, that's part of the thrill. And now, I already know the openings. Hopefully, favouring neither really, but just trying to, create, interesting positions that hopefully, reflect the character or bring out the character of Leela and Stockfish. Don't make them play the same, because there's only one good way to play, but just try and bring out their best sides and create these gorgeous clashes of character, clashes of style that lead to great play. And looking at Div P, I don't know. There doesn't seem to be much in them, but. That you've had that feeling in previous seasons, and then somehow Stockfish has just in the head-to-head has just been so much better, and whereas in Division P it didn't look so crazy. So I don't know, not clear at all, but I would have thought that thinking of the openings as they are, I think that both sides are going to have stuff that they like. And the nice thing is, I've done this book then together with Jeroen Nomen, who's been doing the book for quite a few of the last seasons. So he's done 25 of the openings, I've done 25, and that's very nice. You've got his experience. He knows very well, which openings are good for engines, and there's just me with a very keen follower of TCEC, but probably less knowledge about that, but hopefully, plenty of knowledge about about what makes interesting positions. And well, I mean, there's quite a bit of stuff from my own analysis. Some ideas that I had that never seen the light of day. So well, they're going to see the light of day now. And also a lot of stuff that I've seen that I thought is really interesting, and that judging from the evaluations of the engines, they thought was interesting too. So I'm a bit nervous about it because I put masses of work into it. From that point of view, obviously, you think, well, even if it's not so good, well, I can certainly say that with full honesty that I've tried really, really hard to get it right. But of course, yeah, you'd be absolutely gutted if you put in that much effort and it didn't turn out to be good. So, yeah, we're going to see. But I'm hopeful, really hopeful. I think it's going to be a great super final, especially looking at the strength and the wonderful play of the engines here. So Leela thinking again, 4 minutes. Not much to say really about it. I don't think it's just an absolute draw. So really just want Leela to get on with it and make the moves. So come on, Leela. I could end the stream here, but I wanted to do a whole game for once because I've been abandoning the games in the stream for before. And well, there's one game that I did before, which was Komodo Ali Stein, and I sort of ended with, and this is going to be a long game, and it's going to be a tough fight, but it's probably going to be a draw in the end. And it just exploded just after I left, of course. Just like leaving 10 minutes early, and the team scoring 2 goals. It's just so I really do want to make one complete game here. So. Yeah, 0.00, that's, they call it stoic fish. Move along, nothing to see here. So, yeah, no, nothing to see here indeed. So, Leela thinking. Always nerve-wracking at this point, of course, because you sort of think, well, maybe Leela is crashing. Maybe her tree has got so big that, that it's using up all the memory and that she can't move anymore. So, it's yeah, that would be a little bit nerve-wracking because crashes do count as a loss, so that would be it also counts negatively for the tiebreak as well, so it's a big deal. But these engines don't really crash it, really very solid production, and of course they test them a lot. People are always complaining that in between each league there's days and days of testing, but yeah, that is quite important really. It's I mean, in all fairness, Leela, Stockfish, they really very solid, very solid production values, you could say. It's more for the qualification league engines, the new engines, where it's important just to avoid that. But okay, Igel not moving a pawn, so that's fine. That's fine. Don't move a pawn, Igel. Just give us the draw quickly. So yeah, I mean, Black just has to move the bishop and just wait like that, and that's the thing. Nothing's going to happen. Just for anyone that's still watching, probably people have switched off by now. But if you're still watching, then if you like this video, the exciting part anyway, then please do give it a like if you feel like it, and also maybe subscribe to the channel. It's yeah, I mean, just trying to do lots and lots about engine chess, and focus on the TCEC. Happy to do other engine tournaments if they come up. It's just that the TCEC is really handy because hey, it's the draw. There we are, draw rule, fantastic. So now I was just going to say the TCEC is really handy because it's long games. So you can actually, and at other tournaments you often see that there's super fast time controls, 5 minutes, 2 minutes, and you just can't do anything with it. And they're still playing incredibly well, but the games are so complicated. You haven't even got time to think, to look at anything or whatever. So it just makes it difficult. Whereas this is a lot easier. But yeah, so that was it. Igel against Leela, a draw. I hope you enjoyed that. Do keep on watching the TCC and keep on watching this channel, because we're going to keep on going through and streaming lots of stuff about the TCC in the coming weeks and months. Okay, thanks very much for watching.